right, with that in mind, we have John Schroder. You are our first candidate tonight. Now, several of you have campaigned that you will crack down on violent crime in the state by putting offenders behind bars. But according to an analysis that was done by the Times-Picayune and numbers by the FBI, even when Louisiana incarcerated the most people per capita in the country, we still had the highest murder rate in the nation. Now, as governor, what can you actually do from the state level to stop violent crime? And really, are you proposing anything other than jailing more offenders? Again, you have 1 minute to respond.
Well, look, my first professional career was in law enforcement. I have a degree in criminal justice from Southeastern. Fought crime at a high level in this country. Former narcotics detective. I've worked on every felony crime that you could imagine. But look, I'll be the biggest crime-fighting governor that's ever served in Louisiana because of my background between the military and my law enforcement time. But the bottom line is we have to, crime fighting, it isn't always about putting somebody in jail. It's more about how do you deter that crime? How do you prevent that crime? Mental health is a huge problem. We have a lot of people sitting in jails today because of our mental health crisis in this state that has to be dealt with. But as governor, we're going to have the top state troop in America. We're going to fund them, we're going to train them, we're going to educate them, but we're going to hold them to a very high standard and hold them accountable to the public.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Schroder. Ms. Hewitt.
Thank you for hosting us tonight. One of the underlying problems with crime is drugs, and fentanyl in particular has become a big problem throughout our communities. This last legislative session, I passed a bill to basically be tough on fentanyl manufacturers and these clandestine labs, as well as those that are dealing fentanyl, because they're attacking our young people. Young people quite often are making bad decisions because of these counterfeit pills. And we know from our experience with heroin that when you throw the book at the dealers and those that are manufacturing with a tough on crime message, that we will eradicate fentanyl just as we did heroin. That's the first thing. I also agree with the treasurer. Mental health is a big issue and we need to fund that and do better. Overall, we don't have enough boots on the ground in terms of law enforcement. I will have academies for the state troopers so that we continue to train. I will pay them so that we will keep them, and we will have...
All right, Ms. Hewitt, of course, you minute up. Thank you so much, Mr. Waguespack.
We need more law enforcement on the street. We're down about 200 state troopers at the state police level. When you talk to local sheriffs and police officers, we're down there as well. Inflation has driven up wages for everyone, so it's harder to recruit police. We have to back them, pay them, and train them. The second thing is technology. License plate readers, body cams, street side cams in high crime areas, touristy areas. The more the state can use surplus dollars to put that video surveillance in place, the more we can prove crimes without people having to testify because they're scared to do it because of retribution. The last thing is we have a juvenile violent crime crisis in our state. A lot of young offenders are out on the streets committing violent crimes, so we have to create facilities where we can bring them in, take them off the streets away from that tragic issue, but also give them some of the retraining, the drug treatment, the mental health treatment they need so we can turn them in to be a more productive part of society.
All right, Mr. Waguespack, thank you so much. Mr. Lundy.
Education is hooked directly to crime. We have to start young and we prevent crime. We have to have children that can read and write. We have to have children that can communicate. And we have to start pre-K. We have to start when they're 3 and 4 year olds. There's a direct link between education and reading and incarceration, including reading as an adult in prison. You have said there's a recent study out that says there's a 6 to 7% reduction in recidivism when you have a prisoner that gets out that can read. So yes, we have the longest penalties in the nation of our prisoners. We have one of the highest murder rates, but education and crime are mixed. So we start with our children and we get them out of poverty, we get them working, and then we make sure that our prisons, we're educating them, we're making sure they get out, they can have a trade, they can read and write, and they won't go back. They have a place to live and they have a job, they'll never go back.
All right, Mr. Lundy, thank you so much. Mr. Wilson.
Let me take a few seconds just to introduce myself to your viewing audience. I'm Shawn Wilson, candidate for governor, a native son of New Orleans, Louisiana. Grew up in Algiers. My mom still lives in the shotgun house I grew up in. And so you've got someone who understands what it means to live in a big city and someone who's lived in a smaller town as well. In order to address crime, we have to be thoughtful. The fact that the leading candidate in this campaign is the chief law enforcement officer of the state has failed to show up, no different than he did tonight. The first thing you have to do is show up and be engaged. As a candidate for governor and as governor, I will make the investments that we need to ensure that local law enforcement has the resources and the capacity to build and do their jobs effectively. I'm also going to invest in the workforce development so that we can have a law enforcement capacity across the state so that law enforcement agencies have the number of people they need. You've got to invest in mental health, you've got to invest in education, you've got to invest in reentry programs and preventive measures as well.